for those souls experiencing such distortions. There's more to it that meets the eye. It's just that compassion is always the balm. Unconditional love is always the balm. That's how it heals. That's how you heal. That's how you exist as a healing presence amongst those individuals. Yes, of course, use your intellectual capacity and know how to seek out help and support in the midst of that configurational situation. However, it's also necessary simultaneously to emotionally and spiritually acknowledge the climate of the condition. Absolutely, to feel amongst the experience, to know what's necessary. Why? Because you're spiritually mature enough. You've been in the space before of all individuals involved in that particular scenario or in that configuration. Even in this case, the predator. Now, you've been in that space before. You wouldn't have the information and awareness if you weren't. No, beloved, once again, the idea that we're only victims, where we've only had things done to us, is spiritually immature. No, is everybody doing this stuff to? No, beloved, come on. The entire Earth experience and your process of evolution. No, you had to be the culprit sometimes. You were the instigator sometimes. No, you stole things sometimes. No, you hurt people a bunch of times as a soul. That was the process of your evolution. You had to do those things to be on the other end. The dualistic mind identity will just assume that you've been an angel the entire time you've been here on earth. And no, it's the hell planes and people just doing this stuff to me and doing that stuff to me. And I always been the victim and I ain't never done nothing to nobody. And I don't deserve this because beloved, once again, if you're experiencing it, you've also been on the other end of the spectrum as well. Why? It's because it's the process of your maturity. It was necessary for you to be on both ends of the spectrum. Being on both ends of the spectrum grants you the capacity to be compassionate. Being on both ends of the spectrum grants you the capacity of truly being compassionate. Because you've been in both people's shoes before. The people who did things to somebody and the victims in that situation. You've been in both of those shoes before. So you've evolved to a point of having the spiritual maturity in which to observe and be compassionate. No, you on the judge's stand now. Was it the plaintiff and the other one? The defendant, right? You've been in both seats before, so now you get you have the opportunity to sit in the judge's seat. Now, of course, that's a figurative metaphor, because in this case, to be in the judge's seat is not to judge at all. It's to hold the space of compassion for both parties in the situation. No, I know how it feels to get your thing stolen. No, I know how it is, or know how it feels to feel like you have an opportunity to take something that doesn't belong to you. Now, of course, in this configuration, you got to experience your consequences, and you need to, you got to experience what's coming in the justice, right? But at the same time, it's what's necessary as souls for us to evolve and be in the judge's seat. Metaphorically, of course. The one able to observe and demonstrate compassion for both parties or all parties because they're mature enough. That's the grown-up in the room. And that applies on each and every level of existence, even politically. No, I acknowledge some of the principles that Republicans and Democrats stand upon, but at the same time, these are distorted views where we're attempting to establish balance in our coexistence as a species, politically. However, that's a process. And we lead that process internally. It's our ability to do that work, to reconcile those values. and do what we feel is best for the whole. As a steward, as a leader of the new earth, what's best for the whole? No, this is where we at it. This is where we are intellectually as masters amongst the observation of Earth humanity in this transition, all the ins and outs and bells and whistles of how the coexistence of this species works, right? We can see these things, but at the same time, acknowledge that there's the efforts that are distorted and the efforts that are sound. They can be observed and celebrated and acknowledged with trust. That only that which is in alignment with God's will remain. Everything else will, once again, like the sands of time, it will fade. It's like them Lamborghinis you see in the garage that's just been there for 10, 20 years and then gathered all that dust and started breaking down and rusting and so on and so forth. Like, nah, I used to play with that reality or play with those toys, but they don't get much of my energy these days. So they stay in the garage and they start to deteriorate. They start to break down. Why? Because they haven't been receiving God's energy. That's why it destroys itself on its own. It hasn't been receiving the Creator's experience, energy. I haven't invested in that energy anymore. That was the answer the whole time. It wasn't necessary for me to try to destroy it. It was just necessary, or my desire, to remove my investment of energy in those things anymore. So once again, old activities or habits or relationships or people or what, I don't need to banish them and annex them from reality or destroy them as souls. And I wish God would just take these people or destroy them, or I need to block them or get them away from me and all this other kind of stuff, that defensive energy. It's not necessary, because once again, it's when you decide to invest somewhere else, in something else. That's the only thing that's necessary. It wasn't necessary for you to destroy that. It was only necessary for you to discontinue investing energy or as much energy into these things anymore. And they would dissolve on their own. I didn't have to destroy it. I didn't have to block it. I didn't have to do anything to stop it from happening or what have you. It was a gentle detachment. Acceptance, of course. Unconditional love, of course, is at the foundation always. I recognize and honor all aspects of self for the purpose that they've served in my maturity and expansion. It wasn't necessary for me to annex or block or force out anything. And here's the paradox is here, and I want y'all to pick up on the subtlety of such a paradox. When you don't have resentment, when you don't have emotional blockages or any of these sour emotions, right? Once again, things that you can't accept about life and other people or what have you. When you have that energy, you're resisting, or look, when you're attempting, or when you have to block, right? Or shut out or try to stop certain things from being in your life or what have you. It's only indicative of attachment. There's there's emotional manipulation there. And to say it plainly, you feel some type of way about this thing. So because of that, you have to set up these boundaries or block or try to resist against these things. Or sometimes people, when you push against stuff, that's resistance. It could be anything, people, relationships, or what have you. When you resist or when you push things away, there's emotional current there. There's a lot of energy there. Yeah, no doubt. It's like unresolved things that aren't resolved because there's still resistance. Like you don't push against things that you don't care about. Let me say it again. You don't push against things you don't care about. And I say that loosely because, of course, to care, right? Of course you care about, you have compassion and a feeling and conviction amongst everything. All is honored within your reality, right? When I say care, it's like, no. Of course you care about all life. This is all a mirror. I'm experiencing myself. So it's not like, oh, I don't care or what have you. But when there's an emotional distortion, when you feel some type of way about something, you push back against it. When you're trying to resist. It's like when you like someone and you like have to stop yourself from calling them or looking at pictures. You have to block them, and you know what I'm saying? Like you have to do all this resistance stuff. It's just that when you come into peace with yourself, it's not necessary to engage. Like you don't have to stop yourself from engaging with it. You can coexist with it without being emotionally manipulated. No, you can be right there. It's just I recognize the nature of the relationship. Unconditional love. I don't feel extra about it. It's not necessary for me to push back against it. Same thing with fear. And we talk about this sometimes too. When you push against stuff, when you block stuff, when you try to get things away from you, you fear them. Yeah, no doubt. You fear once again, what you resist, you consciously have a sense of emotional manipulation against, because it's like, well, I have to push this thing or these people because they're affecting me. Now, in some cases, it's necessary, right? A newly ended relationship, right? Like, okay, I need to block on, these social media stuff if I still feel some type of way or I'm triggered by pictures or what have you. But when you come to this place of grounded presence and you're not emotionally attached or bothered by those images, you have a sense of unconditional love and acceptance of the nature of the experience. You don't resist things. You don't feel the need to have to push against stuff. Oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to. Once again, this comes from vulnerability, or the lack of confidence in feeling vulnerable to certain things, or emotionally bothered or confused is a good word. You don't feel that pressure. You don't feel that energy, like it's necessary for you to invest energy in resisting this. And once again, sometimes relationships apply strongly, so I continue to visit that example because it's the most palpable. No, I don't need to block or try to get rid of or get away from seeing and you. It's like, no, I'm perfectly comfortable in life existing around me. I have no resentment or angst towards anything around me. So of course I can be present without resistance. The original conversation, holding a space versus rescuing. When it comes to the human experience, and those around you experiencing their experiences. We can truly be compassionate from a space of emotional maturity, not cold. We're not talking about being cold and like not being compassionate, of course. It's like, no, I recognize how that feels. However, I also acknowledge the truth. The truth is peace. The truth is I'm experiencing myself. The truth is everything is happening for me and never to me. Happening for us and never to us. So of course I can acknowledge your maybe the pain of a particular situation. However, I also recognize, or I'm also aware that this too shall pass. So I have compassion for you. I recognize that it's a part of our journey sometimes for our own healing.